Now, the thing that we want to do now that we've done all that work in terms of photo enhancement and making our auto clone is we want to click over here to our auto painting panel. Now, the idea with the auto painting panel is that we have a bunch of different types of strokes that we can apply. And you can see there's all these various different types of strokes. Now, where do these strokes come from? Well, they're actually recorded strokes. And if you come over here to brushes, you'll see that we also have them at the bottom here, the same strokes that are recorded. And if you remember, we had that ability to record stroke. We could also save a stroke that we've recorded, and then we could then choose it from our strokes list. And of course, we can choose to use stroke data. You can see that we can change the randomness of that stroke. We can change the pressure, the length, the rotation, and the brush size, as well as the speed of the auto painting. Now, we can use this type of stroke data with our cloner brushes. Any of the cloner brushes that you see here in the cloner category, we can definitely use those brushes with this type of stroke. However, my preference is to use the smart stroke painting and to go ahead and use smart settings. Now, as soon as you click smart settings, you'll notice that it automatically kicks us over to the smart strokes category. These are a lot more advanced and painterly than what you're going to get when you're using the cloner tool. So again, remember I'm using the acrylics captured bristle for this. And I'm just going to go ahead now and notice that all of my randomness, pressure, length, rotation, and brush sizes sliders have been turned off. And the reason why is because it's going to use a stroke that fits that particular brush. So if I go ahead and hit play, you'll see that it begins to paint. Now, you have to let it play for a little while because what's going to happen is as it's painting, it's going to begin to figure out how it needs to paint this painting. It's going to begin to find edges. It's going to begin to use a smaller brush size and gradually refine the image more and more as time goes on. So we'll just let this run for just a few more seconds, maybe about 20 or 30 seconds longer, and then we'll go ahead and hit the stop button. Now, of course, if you want this to go slower so that you can analyze the strokes that it's making, you can reduce the speed. And like I say, you can begin to see now that it's gradually sort of zooming in on the edges, and it's beginning to use a smaller and smaller brush stroke to refine the edges and make the edges more and more detailed and cleaner. So let's just say that that's good. I'm going to go ahead and hit stop. And now if we come back up here to our window, clone source panel, and we turn off the tracing paper, you can see what that's really doing. And of course, we can choose any brush that we want to. So let's just go ahead over here and choose, say, something like the acrylics dry brush, like so. And I'll just go ahead and leave the tracing paper turned off for now, and I'll hit play. And you'll see that we end up with a completely different result. And the reason why is because it's using a completely different brush. So this is the acrylics dry brush, and you can see that it has a little bit more of a smeary quality, a lot less grainy than the previous brush was. And if we hit stop on that one, and we come over here and we choose something like our chalk textured, and go ahead and hit play, you'll see that we end up with, again, a completely different set of results. So as you see, it's getting smaller and smaller and more detailed as you allow it to keep playing. So the real trick with this is to let it keep playing until you feel like you've got a result that you feel good with. Now, you can try all of these different smart stroke brushes. I highly recommend that you do because they can be really, really useful brushes for creating a particular type of foundation for your painting. Now, once we're done with that, if we go back over here and we turn the tracing paper back on, you can see that that clone source never went anywhere. That's still there, and it's something that we can pull from. So what I want to do now is go over here to our restoration button. And the restoration tab is basically going to allow us to work with two default cloner brushes. We have a soft edge cloner brush, and we have a hard edge cloner brush. And we can choose the brush size here by dragging the slider. If we choose the soft edge, like so, you can see now that I'm able to go in here and begin to just lightly bring back areas that I feel like I want to get back to the original underpainting of that clone, like so. So maybe I want to pull in just a little bit more detail in particular areas around the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. You want to be careful about this because if you overdo it, then you'll lose that nice painterly look that you got from the auto painting. So, just kind of just come in there and play with some areas where you want the focal point to be, where you want a little bit more detail to carry through. Press pretty lightly, and this way it'll only partially bring it back. Something like something like so. All right. So you can see here that with just a little bit of care and a little bit of time spent, you can create something that looks an awful lot like a painting using these auto painting tools in Coreal Painter 12. I highly recommend that you play with these tools. They can really enable you to play with new ideas and different workflows for taking paintings, drawings, or photos and processing them and giving you a fast foundation so that you don't have to work so hard to fill up large areas of canvas with color. You can just start right in and you can begin to use things like blenders and various other tools to make it your work, but at the same time start with a foundation that looks painterly to begin with.